Welcome back, everybody. In this video, we'll be working on section 2.2, which is about histograms. In short, what a histogram is kind of like is like a bar chart. And you've probably seen a bar chart or bar graph before. And there's some subtle differences between a bar chart and a histogram, but overall, the concept is very similar. So let's get started. So definition, first of all, from the textbook, a histogram is a graph consisting of bars of equal width, that part's pretty important, that are drawn adjacent to each other, unless there are gaps in the data somehow. The horizontal scale will represent the classes of quantitative data values. The vertical scale is going to represent frequencies. The heights of the bars correspond to the frequency values. So the example we've got is, again, our best actress Oscar-winning people and their frequencies. So the frequency distribution is shown to the right, as you've seen before. And then to the left, you're seeing the histogram. So across the horizontal, what you'd think of as x-axis in an algebra class, the horizontal axis is going to be the ages. And so you can see in the first group, there's ages 20 to 30. And then the corresponding height of the bar looks like it's about 27, which is consistent with the frequency that you observe. So a couple of, and then that's true for the rest of the bars as well. So for example, the bar between 40 and 50, that's class number 3, that has a frequency of 13. And it looks like, sure enough, that it's right around 13 for the height. And so a big difference between a histogram and just kind of a regular bar graph is that on a histogram, the bars are drawn right next to each other. And unless there's missing data values, there should be no gaps between the bars. The bars are not drawn separated from each other. And basically that's it. Here there's a this was a frequency distribution. We could just as well, for the vertical axis, we could convert those into percentages and have a show basically a picture of a relative frequency distribution as well. So that was our first example of a histogram. Here are a couple of other examples, and they illustrate some kind of commonly occurring distribution shapes. So in each case, there's a horizontal axis. In this case, for the first one, we have what's called a bell-shaped or normal distribution. The vertical axis, as before, will be the frequency. This one, there's no story with it. Okay, we're just given what the distribution is. And then kind of some characteristic features of the bell-shaped or normal distribution is that it looks kind of like a bell, right? It's what you think of in school as a bell curve. It is symmetric with respect to an average or mean value, and has kind of this kind of characteristic bell shape overall. There could be a little bit of deviation from that, but overall, that's the shape. Okay, a uniform distribution is one where the frequencies are roughly equal, so it's kind of uniform looking. Okay, then we have two skewed distributions. So unlike the bell-shaped or normal distribution, where it's symmetric across that kind of middle of the graph, on either side of the bump, you could say. For skewed distributions, they should look like that normal distribution pushed either to the left or right. So here, this one on the left is going to be right skewed. It's kind of unfortunate, the placement in their graphic, but we'll not go into that. The right skewed one is shown here on the left, and the left skewed one is shown here on the right. So you want to be kind of cautious about the names. When I first learned this, I got these exactly backwards all the time because I thought, okay, relative to the normal one, which way is the hump going? It's not that. Instead, you want to look at which way the kind of longer tail is. Relative to the bump, the longer tail is on the right, on the one that is right skewed. And the one that is left skewed, the longer tail is on the left. And there's just this little tiny tail on the right. So to determine whether a distribution is left or right skewed, you want to look at which side has the longer tail on it, and that will tell you the direction of the skew. All right, in the next part, I wanted to show you how you can use StatCrunch inside of my math lab to generate a histogram. So after you've logged into my math lab, looking down the left side of the screen, right under the gradebook, you'll see StatCrunch. That's the software built into my math lab that you can use to help you do things like make histograms and a lot of other stuff. So I'm going to click on StatCrunch. And then here, there's a couple of options. If you want to use data sets built into the textbook, you can click that link or just visit the StatCrunch website. I'm going to do that. And then here, there's again a couple of different things that you can do. If you already have data sets that you want to use, you can upload those and a variety of other things. For now, I don't already have a set of data that I want to use, so I'm just going to click on Open StatCrunch, that orange bar right in the middle. If you've used a spreadsheet before, like Microsoft Excel, this is going to be kind of similar. We have data organized into rows and columns, so that's a rectangular array of squares called cells. Each row is numbered, starting with row 1, and each column is labeled var1, var2, and so on. You can change those labels if you want to. Across the top are menus that indicate stuff that you're able to do. And so that's what we'll work on right here. So I'm going to make up some numbers right in here that we can use to make a histogram of. So let me just give us some numbers. Let me make one that not quite that big. .96. All right, so there's some numbers. Okay, so I want to make a histogram of this data. So taking a look at our choices up here, play around with this stuff, see if you want to figure out how everything works, go ahead. I'm going to be teaching you how to do certain things during this course, and some stuff we won't end up needing, but a lot of stuff we will. So we're trying to make a picture, so that suggests we should look under graph. Basically, anytime you want to make something graphical or picture-wise, pretty much you want to look under graph. Calculation-y things, find a confidence interval, do a hypothesis test, whatever that is, right? Calculation type stuff, you want to look under stat. Making pictures of things, you want to look under graph. Okay, and histogram, so that seems reasonable. We're going to click on histogram. And then here, there's some things to do. We can choose columns. Right now, I have only one column of data, so I'm going to click on select column as var1. And then you can do more complicated stuff here. I'm going to leave this as is and just click on compute down here at the bottom. And so there's our frequency distribution for this set of data that I just made up. If you click on this little bit of 3 lines down here in the bottom, you can change things like the X and Y axis, the title, and so forth. Let me change the X axis to be, change the label to be like, I don't know, age. Click on OK. And now you can see that we've changed the label. There's to age. And then frequency, and then let's see if we can add a title here. Let's just call it survey responses just to be exciting, or not, right? Click OK. All right, so now we have a little title. So this is kind of nice, actually. If you want, you can right-click on this thing and copy the image and put it in a Word document or something if you like, if you have a report or paper that you need to make some sort of a histogram for. All right, so you can also click on options if you wish to change things. Edit, let me click on edit. I want to change something about this thing. I'm going to leave it the same data set that I have. This time, though, I'm going to change it from frequency to relative frequency and click on compute. And so now you can see this is giving this not as percentages, but as decimal. So this one that is 0.4 up here, that would be basically around 40%, okay? So you can't get it to get exactly percentages, but at least it is putting it in there as decimals for you. All right, so that is one example of a histogram. Let me see if we can get some other ones. So you can load data from a variety of sources. So let me see if I can get one from somewhere interesting. Let's try public groups. Okay, I don't know. Who knows what we're going to find here. Yeah, nothing interesting there. Let me find you something more interesting. Hang on a second. All right, so I went back outside of StatCrunch, and we're going to go back in. I've chosen StatCrunch website again, but this time instead of the orange bar for Open StatCrunch, I'm going to go to Data Sets down here. Let me click on that, see if I can find us something fun to play with. Movie budgets and box office earnings. Let's see. Car details, 2019 models. That sounds possibly interesting. Okay. All right, so this one might not be quite as interesting because it looks like a lot of the data is categorical. You know, type, is it a sedan, is it an SUV, and so on. But maybe we can use the seating. We can generate a histogram of the seating. So let's do that. I'm going to click on graph and then histogram and then choose the column for seating and then compute. All right, so it looks like most of them are seating for 5. Okay, so that is our histogram. Let me do also width. So graph, histogram, and width. I think I said length. Let's just go with width. All right, so there's a histogram for the car widths. Okay. So I noticed also that this will do stem and leaf plots, and we had done just one example of a stem and leaf plot. So let me show you one of those. Let's make a stem and leaf plot that's right under histogram. Let's make a stem and leaf plot for the car widths. Okay, so here it says the decimal point is 1 digit to the right of the colon. So here, this would be 6, and then it's 1 digit to the right of the colon. So this would be 63 and 64 inches. The next one would be 66 and 67 inches. All right, so this you'll notice kind of gives us a bar chart. If you turn your head sideways, gives us kind of a bar chart representation of the frequencies as well. Here they chose, they didn't break it down very much. I'm not sure if we can change. Yeah, I was hoping we could change that so there's more categories, but it doesn't look like you can. All right, so that takes us to all I was going to say for now about histograms. Let me know if you have any questions. That does finish section 2.2 for us. Let me know if you have any questions, and then have a great day.